I'm your host, Lucas, and today I am super excited because we are talking about a neurotransmitter that I have studied very extensively throughout my, nootropic research and trying to learn more about the brain, which you guys know I love to explore. And in the very early days, I was really sort of captivated by, how can I improve motivation? How can I improve my mood? How can I increase my discipline? How can I support my social skills? All those sorts of things were running through my mind back in the day and still do. Although I definitely feel like I've gotten myself to a point where um, I need less and less biohacking in that realm because I'm really, really pleased with, my baseline. So enough about me. Today, we are specifically focusing on a neurotransmitter called serotonin. So I'm sure like many of you have heard of serotonin in the context of antidepressants or recreational drugs or through understanding gut health. So what I want to do is give you a brief breakdown on what serotonin is. So when we look at serotonin, we first need to understand that this is not only just a neurotransmitter that's found in the brain, but it's also produced in much larger quantities in the gut itself. Um, and I'll be touching on that a little bit more towards the end of today's episode. But from a physiological and a pathway perspective, we can look at serotonin as a neurotransmitter that is actually synthesized from the amino acid L-tryptophan. So remember how I mentioned in the dopamine episode that phenylalanine is the very beginning raw materials to create dopamine? Well, with serotonin, tryptophan is the very, very beginning substrate, and that can be found in protein rich foods as well. So specifically turkey and a few other foods as well. So we know that tryptophan is the very beginning substrate. And what that does in the brain is it goes down a particular pathway, which eventually ends up as serotonin. So I won't get into too much of the chemistry and the biochemistry behind it. But all you need to understand is that tryptophan is the beginning substrate, and anything that increases tryptophan hydroxylase, which is the enzyme that converts your tryptophan into 5-HTP and then eventually into serotonin, anything that ramps up that pathway will ultimately lead to greater serotonin production. So that's the basic, biochemistry behind serotonin. And again, there's many other ways in which serotonin can be produced, or like obviously what's produced is also influenced by a variety of factors, such as the actual serotonin receptors, the serotonin transporter, and then also drugs and other compounds that manipulate serotonin's actions in the brain.